Chapter 7. Life in Arcadia. Lilla sat with the children gathered around her, their eyes bright with curiosity. They had heard of Arcadia's grandeur, its divine purpose, its importance to the gods. But what about the people? What was it like to live in a city that walked across the world? She took a slow breath. I was born in Arcadia, she began. The children gasped. Even though they knew she had been there, hearing her say it made it real. I was just like you once. A child playing in its streets, running through the humming corridors that breathed with the city's lifeblood. The Titan heart core beat beneath our feet, its energy pulsing like a living thing. And Melania, our AI guardian, watched over us like a gentle mother. She smiled wistfully. Life in Arcadia was different from other cities. You see, we never stayed in one place. By the time a child could walk, they already knew the city was always moving, shifting, adapting. Markets never sold food from just one land. We had fruits from the emerald valleys, spices from the islands of creation, even rare minerals carried from the White Mountains. Dietro, wide-eyed, asked, "But what about homes? Wouldn't things fall when the city moved?" Lilla chuckled. Arcadia was built for movement. The roads adjusted to the city's pace, houses had stabilizers, and even the air itself shifted to lessen the force of the journey. No one ever felt like they were traveling. To us, the world moved while we stayed still. Her parents, she closed her unseeing eyes for a moment, as if recalling a distant memory. My parents were not warriors, nor priests, nor engineers. They were simple people trying to survive like everyone else. Her father, Jareth Failwin, had been a tall, quiet man with deep brown hair and the sharp mind of a scholar. He once worked in logistics, helping coordinate trade routes between Arcadia and the cities it visited. But competition was fierce, and the rise of automated systems meant fewer jobs for humans like him. Her mother, Morella Failwin, was different. A sharp-tongued woman with a mind as quick as lightning, she had once tried to join the scholars of Melania, those who worked directly with the city's AI to analyse patterns and data. But Morella's passion was people, not numbers. They had struggled, moving from job to job, never quite finding stability. It was only when Morella realised that people in Arcadia had another growing need, understanding, that their lives changed. You see, Lilla continued, Arcadia was filled with brilliant minds. Scientists, engineers, inventors. But intelligence does not always mean happiness. People struggled with loneliness, with the pressure to be great, with the fear of failure in a city that never stopped moving. The children listened in fascination, and so my parents listened. They spoke with people, not just as friends, but as guides. At first, they offered their words for free, helping those who felt lost in the city's endless march forward. But soon they realised something. What? Chiron leaned forward. Lilla smiled. People were willing to pay to be understood. And so, her parents became psychologists, a rare profession in a city focused on innovation and efficiency. They helped people with their fears, their doubts, their desires. Jareth specialised in helping those who felt useless in a city that always sought progress, while Morella worked with those who feared losing themselves to Arcadia's ambitions. They thrived, Lilla said, a note of pride in her voice. Not because they built something with their hands, nor because they wielded power, but because they understood that even in a city of metal and gods, the most important thing was still the human soul. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then, Argia asked softly, "Did they survive?" Lilla hesitated. "That is a story for another time." The children didn't press. They already knew the answer. But for now, at least, they could imagine Arcadia as it was. A city full of life, ambition, and the simple struggles of those who called it home. The school and the Free Guild. After breakfast, Lilla gathered the children together and took them to a small, rustic room at the edge of the orphanage. It was sparsely decorated but functional. Simple wooden desks and chalkboards lined the walls, with maps of the nearby village and continent hanging for reference. The sun poured in through the narrow windows, casting a warm glow on the space as the children took their seats. She watched them settle, her heart warmed by their eagerness to learn. Today, we will practice the basics: how to grow food, how to make your home more comfortable, and how to protect yourselves, Lilla began, her voice soft but firm. You will need these skills as you grow. Life in a village is different from the city, but it holds its own challenges and rewards. Lilla had seen many children over the years, some who came to her older, some younger, but the needs were always the same: survival, growth, and care. She had learned to do what she could with what little she knew. Though Lilla had the magic of her goddess and wisdom from her long life, there were still things she didn't understand. Her hands couldn't always make the world perfect, and she had to admit that. And remember, Lilla added as she moved from one child to another, making sure they practiced their work well, the best way to improve a community is by first improving yourself. You must always seek to help those around you, to raise each other up, even when it's hard. Only together will you build a stronger village. Even as she taught, Lilla was filled with doubt. She had no knowledge of farming techniques, no insight into the social intricacies of village life. Her understanding came from the lessons of Arcadia, and her experiences had been vastly different, but she did what she could. After an hour of lessons, Lilla led the children out of the orphanage and down the dirt roads of the small village toward the local schoolhouse. As they approached the school, the children greeted their peers, their voices light and happy. The school was a modest stone building with a small yard where children played during breaks. Inside, it was a room filled with desks, each one occupied by children eager to learn. Lilla had been a frequent visitor to the school. The teachers, grateful for her knowledge, often requested her help. History was her area of expertise, particularly the history of the world after the fall of Arcadia, which she had lived through. The children were fascinated by her first-hand knowledge of the New Age and the events that had shaped it. Today, the teacher, a tall woman with long auburn hair named Iria, asked Lilla for help once more. She had come to the topic of the Free Guild and its mysterious past, a topic that always intrigued the children. Lilla nodded, understanding the question. "The Free Guild," she began, her voice carrying the weight of years of history, "is one of the oldest organizations in the New Age. It was founded after the collapse of the old world, shortly after the Great Calendar Change, the moment when time itself was reorganized and a new calendar was established to track the passage of years." The children listened intently, their eyes wide with wonder. It is said that the Free Guild was created as a way for adventurers, traders, and knowledge seekers to come together, share information, and build a new world from the ashes of the old. It was open to anyone. No one was barred from joining if they had the desire to learn and contribute. Lilla paused, glancing at the children's eager faces. But there are many mysteries surrounding the Guild's origin. Some say the Guild was founded by the Eldar, the first elves, and that it was created by their hand to help guide the remnants of the world after the fall of the old gods. But the truth is unclear. The Grand Master of the Guild, for centuries, was said to be an Eldar, one of the first of their kind. But who they were, what their true purpose was, it remains a secret. Nika raised her hand and asked, "So what did the Guild do? What made it important?" Lilla smiled softly at her question. The Free Guild was primarily a place for adventurers and tradespeople to gather. In each capital, there would be a guild house, a place where those seeking work could find it, be it as mercenaries, explorers, or simply individuals looking to make their fortune. They took on dangerous jobs, seeking treasure, solving disputes, or uncovering lost knowledge. In exchange, they earned coins, fame, and prestige. She motioned to the map on the wall, which depicted various regions of the continent. The Guild didn't just exist in one place. Its influence spread across the lands, from the Emerald Valleys to the Shadowlands to the far-reaching islands of creation. Every region had its own guild, and they all operated with a set of similar rules. The ranking system, for example, each member had a rank based on their metal colour and their achievements. Copper was the lowest, and platinum the highest. There were also letter grades that signified individual achievements, such as F for copper up to SS for platinum. Kashua furrowed her brow and asked, "So, is it like being a knight or a soldier? Or is it something different?" Lilla nodded. "It's similar, but the guild is more fluid. A knight is bound to a specific lord or ruler. An adventurer in the guild, however, is free. They can take on any job they like, as long as it doesn't break the guild's code of honour. Many joined the guild not only for work but to learn. New skills, new crafts, new ways of thinking. The guild was about freedom. Freedom to choose your path. I've heard stories of the guild's secretive nature, Chiron said, his voice tinged with excitement. Is it true that the higher ranks have access to ancient knowledge? Lila raised an eyebrow. There are rumours that the higher-ranking members of the Free Guild have access to knowledge lost to time, especially those who reach the highest ranks, the Platinum Guild Masters. They say the Eldar kept knowledge of the old world hidden within the guild. Knowledge of magic, the gods, even the true purpose of the guild itself. But no one truly knows. The Free Guild has always been a mystery. The children murmured amongst themselves, fascinated by the legends surrounding the guild. The bell rang, signalling the end of their lesson, but Lila lingered a little longer, allowing the children to ask questions, to let the history settle in their minds. As they left the schoolhouse to head back to the orphanage, Lila found herself wondering, as she often did, if the answers to the guild's mysteries would ever be revealed. Would the guild's true origin be uncovered, or would it remain hidden? Just another piece of the world's enigmatic past. The more she thought about it, the more questions she had. Questions that perhaps one day would be answered. The Watcher in the Woods. After leaving the children at the schoolhouse, Lila did not take the direct path back to the orphanage. Instead, she turned toward the deep woods, her steps quiet, her presence blending seamlessly with the rustling of the leaves. The villagers rarely ventured here. It was a place of unseen dangers, where shadows moved on their own and whispers clung to the wind. But for Lila, it was familiar. This was her hunting ground. The forest was old, far older than the village itself. Trees with gnarled roots and twisting branches loomed overhead, their canopies thick enough to swallow the sunlight. The air was damp, carrying the scent of earth, moss, and the faint metallic tang of something unnatural. Goblins. She had noticed the signs earlier that week. Crude traps, tracks too fresh, bones picked too clean. But now she was sure. The goblins had crept too close again, scavenging the edges of the village. If left unchecked, they would grow bold. Her fingers traced the symbol of her deity on her staff as she whispered a prayer of silence, a spell of stillness around her. The light in her eyes, though sightless, flickered with an inner radiance, allowing her to perceive the world around her without needing to see it. She moved with a grace born of centuries, her magic woven into every step. She was not just a cleric. She wielded divine power up to the 5th circle, a level most mortals could never dream of reaching. Where others stumbled in the dark, she walked with purpose. A snapping twig to her left, a sharp breath drawn in surprise. Lila's hand flicked outward, and a faint golden thread of divine magic extended from her fingers, wrapping around the goblin's throat before it could flee. It let out a strangled croak, struggling, its yellow eyes wide with terror. "Shh," Lila whispered. Her voice was soft but unyielding. "I am not here to let you run." The goblin kicked wildly, clawing at the radiant bindings as Lila stepped forward, lowering her staff to its forehead. She felt its frantic heartbeat, the raw desperation in its small body. "You have come too close to the village," she murmured. "Tell me, are there more of you?" The goblin's breathing hitched, and it shook its head frantically. "A lie," Lila sighed. She tightened her grip on the spell. The golden light pulsed once, and the goblin shuddered violently before going still, its body limp as the divine magic stripped away its will to fight. She released it, letting it slump to the forest floor. "Run," she said. "Tell the others." The goblin scrambled to its feet, nodding frantically before vanishing into the underbrush. Lila listened as its footsteps faded into the distance. She had given it a chance. If it returned, she would not be so merciful. She marked the trees as she walked, tracing sigils that warded against wandering spirits and hungry things that lurked in the dark. The prairies of the old centre were vast, and while the village sat on its edge, there were always forces that tried to push inward. Even here in this quiet forest, she could still hear them, the voices of the past, the echoes of a world long buried beneath time, the screams of Arcadia's final moments. She stopped walking. Her fingers trembled slightly against her staff. She had been powerless then. She had heard the pleas, the cries, the desperate wails of children as the city crumbled beneath them. "Please help me! Don't leave us!" She had reached for them, reached for anything. But the gods had not answered then. She had not yet been given the power she wielded now, but she was not powerless anymore. Lilla exhaled slowly, steadying herself. She turned back toward the village, her staff glowing faintly as she continued her patrol. The past may have haunted her, but it did not control her. Not anymore.